Hey guys, I hope you're having a fantastic day. Thanks for coming back to the channel, and after a little bit of time of some discussions about reveals that are up and coming, and with all of the coverage that has recently happened with the Transformers Siege line, I thought that it was high time that we get back to the figures that we know and love, namely this guy. Or, well, actually more appropriately, this guy. That's right, this is the Siege Shockwave, but the big focus here is going to be on G1 Shockwave in the latest GotBot True review. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, and of course subscribe. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, Transformers Collectors NL, and me everywhere. And you will see that in this hand, I have the Transformers Siege Shockwave. And in this hand, thanks to a good friend of the channel, Jeff, I have the G1 Shockwave. I've never looked at this guy before. I didn't even own him as a kid. So we're going to kind of look at this guy today and sort of compare him to the Siege one and see how good of an homage this one actually is. Now, some of you eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed that this guy is stylized. There's a different conversion here because his legs are actually the base and he's sort of elongated. I had wondered kind of how to do this fan conversion to get him looking more traditional, so to speak, and it took me a little while to figure it out, but I'm going to show you guys how to accomplish this with your Siege Shockwave. But more importantly, we're going to take a look at this glorious guy from the G1 era. Every now and again I do like to take a bit of a trip back in time, and as a child he was fantastic, and guess what, as an adult collector he's still pretty fantastic. But enough of me babbling on about Shockwave. Let's head over to the table and take a closer look at him. So while in essence, what we have here is going to be a review of G1 Shockwave, we're going to kind of do it via comparison with the Siege Shockwave. And you might notice over there the Siege Shockwave in his alt mode is looking very G1-ish, maybe even more so than he did when I looked at him in full in episode 498. I'll kind of explain how I got him in this mode and where I got the inspiration from for it shortly. Before we move on, I want to give a few shout-outs. We haven't done this in a while, to Jakir Bosley, Sean Cameron, Optimus Prime G3, Colin Singleton, Shogun Lobster, Jim Zilla 1701, Brady Chalk, Bionic Hadouken, and Silent Wolf, whose name I absolutely adore. Now, since this is a G1 inspired look at this guy, I should say first and foremost where I got the guy from. I want to thank Jeff, friend of the channel. He is the reason that we're getting a chance to kind of do this comparison and have this look at this, what was really one of the strongest G1 figures I think that ever came out. Everybody wanted some version of this guy, and there were a few versions of him. So a big thanks to Jeff for letting me take a look at this. Hopefully he, if this goes well and he has potentially a few other things that we might be able to take a look at here. We'll see as time goes on. But of course we're going to start off and take a look at the box and the accessories first. And yes, here we have a box that I can get behind. The G1 packaging was fantastic. I do remember seeing this on shelves. I also remember the kind of gray Shockwave that was at Radio Shack when that was still a thing. And he was gray with like a red eyepiece. But he was still cool. Like, I knew people who had this guy, I knew people who had that guy. I used to always wonder, as a child I didn't really know the difference, so I used to always wonder, like, why are some of these Shockwaves gray? I don't get it. Seems just as good, but I don't get it. Nevertheless, I didn't own Shockwave as a kid. I do remember seeing him on the shelf. He was, one of the big ones. He was one of the expensive ones. He was one of the top-end ones. And he was also one of my favorite characters on the show. I always loved Shockwave, man. He was so menacing and so cool. Of course, product shots down here. And you can see they're kind of showing, I guess, his conversion and alternate mode, how things kind of come apart, and he has sound effects and whatnot. On the top we have the traditional, like, showing the 5 steps for his conversion. You'll notice we have a foam insert. That's how these guys were protected back in the day. And to this day, I mean, this guy was in the foam insert. It's fantastic. Better than, I think, a plastic clamshell. I've always thought that this is the best way for these guys to go packaged. Of course, on this side of the box we have Shockwave in both modes. And on this side of the box, same thing, Shockwave in both modes. But then we come to the glorious part, the scene on the back. This absolutely inspired my imagination, though some things didn't make sense. Okay, like we have Optimus here, we have Prowl here, we have Starscream coming in and transforming, but I feel like we see Starscream elsewhere just flying. I suppose that it's just supposed to be Seekers. We have Soundwave over there, Laserbeak coming out of his chest, I do believe. We have like a flying, I believe, Hound and Trailbreaker back here. You know, who knew that as a Jeep and a truck, I suppose, they could fly? You know, I didn't know. What I always found interesting about the scenes is that they were done really inspired by the way that they appeared in toy form. Not the way that they appeared in the fiction of, not the way they appeared in the animation, but the way that they appeared in toy form. And like, it was so detailed, but yet at the same time, like, imperfect if you really were to nitpick it. There were 2 or 3 of these, like, kind of on the back battle scenes, and of course, perhaps the most popularized one, the most famous one, is this one. Of course, we also had a bio down here, a nice full bio for Shockwave. It says that he's like a military operations specialist. I mean, I always thought he was a scientist, but hey, maybe not. The whole idea of him being logic-driven, I don't know if it really fit originally, but the quote here for him is clarity of thought before rashness of action. I think that's just good life advice, man. Now, while I said I'm not sure if the whole idea of him being so logical really fit the character, that was based on the animation. Logic does very much fit the bio down here. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but basically the bio here said that he seeks to overthrow Megatron, and that he sees, you know, the like art of combat as something very scientific and logical, so he does apply those principles to I guess his experiences out in the field. So in that regard, yes, it's true to the toy. I don't know if it was really so true to the animated iteration of the character. I mean, obviously these are kind of 2 different versions of the same guy, but I find it interesting that there's kind of such a stark difference between what I tend to remember on screen and what the toy bio says. Naturally, we have the old tech specs over there, but you can't see them because you need the special red decoder. Although you can kind of see them if you look hard enough. And here's the red decoder, and of course you would put it over and you could see all of the technical specifications that Shockwave has. Of course, he came with these instructions, and I mean, they were, you know, they were fantastic. They were so detailed, everything explained and shown. I used to love the way they were done. We don't get this sort of love given to instructions this day and age, I don't think. This sticker sheet was also in the box. To be fair, I do not know if this is the like official sheet that came with them, or if this is just like a Toy Hacks, you know, repro labels type of thing to kind of mimic that. But this is the sheet. I think it's the original, I think, but I really can't say for sure. I will also note that there is a rub symbol here. It has not been applied. I don't think it's the original rub symbol. I think that it is like a third party, you know, aftermarket type of add-on, but it is there and I have used it. It does work. It does show that he is a Decepticon, so there you go. So at this point, we have G1 Shockwave here and Siege Shockwave. The Siege Shockwave does a tremendous job of kind of like, I guess, homaging the original look. Now, there is a submarine mode, and if you turn the submarine mode over, it looks like the blaster version, but that can't stand up because the handle is quite small. You will notice here that the legs do serve as the handle, just like they did in G1. So how is that accomplished? In order to kind of make him mimic as close as possible here? Well, there's a couple of things to note. One, the barrel up here is still purple, not gray like on the G1. You could paint it if you were so inclined. But in robot mode, I think that that gray would really kind of stand out on his back. I feel like the lesser of two evils here is just to leave it purple. Now, back here, this is the whole extra section that in Siege Shockwave's spaceship mode like wraps all around his body. Now shout out here to Cybertron or FX Friends, whatever it is you know him as. I know him as Cybertron, but I think most people know who I'm talking about. I saw this kind of alt mode done on his channel. Now, to be fair, he had the chest here facing down. I have it facing up. So you can do it with it facing down or facing up. I'll also note that, just like he noted, up here is hollow. Now, you can take the other armor bits and put them on. Like you could put the feet bits down on the feet, and you could take the other arm bits, the ones that look like this, and using the hole right there, you can kind of peg it on a peg right there and a peg right there. I don't have it done because I wanted it to look as close as possible to the original. Now, the one thing that I didn't understand from what he had done, and the one thing that took me a little while to figure out, is how is this attached? Because I didn't really see any pegs and holes. Well, there is. What you do is, taking this up, what you do is, once you fold up the arms and whatnot, and fold the shoulders in, there's a little rectangular slit there. Well, on the inside right here, there's a little rectangular tab. And that little rectangular tab, whether it's intentional or not, it can, with some force and some effort, fit into that slot on the side. So I'm just going to take that off for now. I'm going to take this guy out of here for now. And the next time we see him, he'll be in his robot mode. But in terms of being an homage to the G1 alt mode, yeah, you can definitely do it. It's pretty close, and I think that that's something fans have been waiting for a long time. Obviously, it is significantly smaller than the original. Okay, so now we're left with good old G1 Shockwave here, and I'm actually going to turn him around. And I'm doing this for a reason. I'm turning him around because we all know that you should be able to hold Shockwave like this. And indeed I can. We also know that he's supposed to be able to make sounds. That sounds a bit weird. Of course, the front lights up. You can also flick that to the side and it lights up, but the sound doesn't really work. So, whichever one you want to leave. By the way, this piece wasn't up, and you don't have that on the Siege version, but you did in this version. So this is what we have for an alt mode. It's weird. Now the feet can fold in, but because most people wanted him to be kind of like a stationary, like battle station type of laser gun, most people opted to leave them out. But they did fold in. These ones, one of these doesn't really stay folded in anymore. They're die cast, they're heavy, they're bulky, and they could keep him standing up. In terms of like paint apps color, 10, you know, it's Shockwave. I've said this before about G1 figures. They're a little harder to grade because A, they are, their color schemes could be considered just as valid, if not more so, than the animation, even though I like to go by the animation. And of course they're so old that, like, you know, you gotta make certain allowances for what they are. Nevertheless, 10. Great start for this guy. I said that the Siege's colors were also 10. There's no doubt that it's Shockwave. Not in my mind. Now, one might argue and say, hey, but that Shockwave doesn't have the gray, which I already mentioned. Fine. Then for you, I guess that Shockwave and his coloring, the Siege one, would be about a 9.75. I still say 10. What about his conversion? Well, the conversion is pretty great. Now, one of the things that you encounter a lot of the time with G1 Shockwave is this is cracked and broken. This one seems to be in pretty great shape. It's cracked and broken. That's what the electronics are connected to. My guess is the wires inside might be a little bit loose because the sounds don't quite work. There's also a battery compartment here. The battery compartment on this copy is like the little tab, say, was broken. But it still holds on just fine with tension anyway, so it's really not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. So we fold that down. And we take the back here and we fold it up. We take Shockwave and we extend those legs. And we stand him up And of course he goes off screen, but that's fine because we're going to finish his lower body here first. Now that we have him stood up, we can deal with his legs, which are pretty simple at this point. All you are doing is, and the upper legs, by the way, that's all die cast as well. The toes are, and the upper legs, all die cast. The lower legs here, plastic. There's like a bar kind of up here. You push that leg out, and this side does not like to go out as much, or as easily I should say. And like, oh, and that foot went back in. But there you go, there's Shockwave. There's Shockwave's lower half converted into robot mode. Now you'll notice he's standing a bit precariously. It's because these legs are on sliders, and this slider over here is a little, like it's not doing it there now so much, but it does like to slide up. I guess it's just the joint ages over the years. Now I realize I have him laid down here kind of strangely. It's only for a moment. It's just so I can point out that this piece comes off. Now everybody knows that that piece comes off. But people are famous for breaking the clear, or the translucent at least, plastic that's in there that makes up his hand and his arm blaster thing. If you pull it just out straight, you'll be fine. The way that this attaches, and I don't know if everybody realizes it or if they're just careless with it or what the case is, but really this blaster piece is circular. And if we look inside of the gray piece, you'll see that there's like a circle where this fits into. Don't push it, don't force it. Once it can't push on any further, it can't push on any further. If you force it, you're gonna break it. So don't. Tension and friction will hold it in place just fine. Trust me. Now I'm trying to show this to you just so you know, but it's on this side. You can probably see a circle in there. That's what the like arm cannon thing goes into. Don't push it. It'll just kind of slot into place just fine. Now I realize how far back I am here, but this should look familiar to most people. With the Siege version, we would undo his backpack and kind of flip it through and bring it down on his back. In this case, the backpack kind of folds up on his back. But that guy and this guy both have the arms up over the head like this. The Siege one, the chest opens out and the head flips up. In this case, all we need to do is split the arms, and there's a peg and a hole there that hold the arms together. On heavy ratchets, bring them down, and the head is spring-loaded and just pops up. And once the head is up, we can flip up his little earpieces. And they are connected on the same axes, so once you move one earpiece, both of them will come up. Let's get in closer and take a look at this guy a bit better. So this gangly weirdo was getting a 10. His conversion, as far as I'm concerned, is also a 10. It's easy. Enough things move to keep it interesting, but it's also very intuitive. That being said, I'm actually going to mark his transformation down slightly for two reasons. One, I realize that the rubber hose is somewhat precarious. Two, a lot of people over the years have had trouble with his clear translucent plastic. So I'm going to say that it's a 9. I can't take it any lower than that. Now, there are people, I'm sure, looking at this guy saying, hey, GotBot, he's not quite done. Ah, indeed, you're right. I wanted to know how many people would actually notice. There is one other piece of transformation to go that a lot of people overlook. A lot of people overlook. So I wanted to specifically point it out by overlooking it initially. If you notice, this hand here is backwards. Now you can turn it around this way and that's fine, but the idea isn't to turn the hand around. The idea is to keep the arm straight and turn it around at the elbow, or the bicep swivel, if you will. We have two screws here. They should be facing on the inside of the arm. If you do that, you have the molded in detail on the outside, and you did not need to rotate the fist, though we do have articulation there. And of course you can bend that up. You could also bend it back if you wanted to. The elbows go forward and back, the whole gambit, but we'll talk about that when we get to articulation. Obviously, That also means over here we take this and we rotate it around thusly so that the screws are as well on the inside of the arm. So transformation, a 9 because I know people have had issue with it. The paint app's 10, he's easily 9.5. Though for me, I'm saying he's a 10. So subjectively, he's a 10. Objectively, 9.5. What about the articulation? So the articulation, that's the only thing left. Now we know that G1 figures tend to be largely immobile bricks, but shockingly, this guy is not. Not very much anyway. See what I did there? Shockingly? See it? See it? So we're going to begin with the head. The head goes around 360 degrees. And like that's kind of tremendous for the time. It cannot look up and down because of the whole gimmick with it being spring-loaded. That being said, the whole spring-loaded gimmick of the head was revisited with the deluxe class fall of Cybertron Shockwave, this little guy, because his head does the same thing. I call that a nice little nod, personally. Now, that's the head. What about the rest of them? Well, the shoulders, both of them, can ratchet out there. Can ratchet out there. So, like, there's a ratchet there and a ratchet there. So, I mean, it can go up tremendously far. We have shoulders, of course, that they can move, you know, like up and down, no problem. He can shrug. He has a 90-degree elbow on both sides. He has a bicep swivel for G1. He has wrist swivel. And his cannon over here, it too can swivel. I do believe. Maybe it can't. No, maybe it can't. I don't want to force it. Maybe it can't. But his one hand certainly does. Now, the one shame with the arms is that we cannot go forward and back with them. Like, they're, you know, they're on down by his side, and that's it. Get that thing over. He can lean forward that far, so like he has, will we call it ab crunch? I wouldn't really call it ab crunch. I would call it more like his legs can go forward that far. They can't go back at all. What we do have is a knee. very, very limited knee, but like it's a knee, I guess. One click on that side, is that what it is? One click knee? Yeah, the knee is, I don't know, the knee's pretty limited, man. Oh, I didn't have it there. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't have it extended the whole way, or it had closed up again because the joints are old. So like the knee, you can get 1, 2, 3 clicks. 3 clicks. I mean, it's not great, but like it's a knee. That's more than what most G1 figures had. And I'll point this out. The elbow, well, it can go 90 degrees that way. It can also go 90 degrees that way if you want. I don't know why you'd want that, but it can. So, you know, like it, articulation, yeah, it's limited. What do you want? I mean, by today's standards, his articulation is like a 5, maybe a 4. For the time, compared to other G1 figures, what this guy was able to pull off, it was like a 9. Here he is again next to the impeccably articulated Siege Shockwave. And like I think that the Siege one, though overpriced, is a 10. I think that the original, in relation to other G1 Transformers, he was a 10. He was so incredibly functional. He had such presence, such a unique look. He stood out from the pack. He was a beautiful purple. Purple's my favorite color, fun fact. What a treat he was for any kid to have. And you know what, even this day, what a treat he is for me to have a chance to look at and bring to you. And so here we are once again. And this guy is still a standout star from the G1 era. Obviously, the Siege Shockwave is an excellent, excellent homage to this. The coloring is pretty spot on, except for the kind of missing gray front here on the Siege one, though you could always paint it if you were so inclined. That being said, this is a removable piece anyway. It would be nice if the electronics worked better on this particular copy, but the fact that they work at all is kind of fantastic and sort of surprising considering what most of these go through over the years. So many have the hose cracked or broken. This one doesn't, even if the connection might be loose. A lot suffer from the arms drooping, especially on the KO. This one, the ratchets are still fantastically tight. Here's the thing, in terms of coloring, it's arguably as accurate or more accurate than the animation. In terms of articulation, yeah, okay, obviously it's dated. I mean, there's limitations to this guy. The knee, very limited. His legs can't, you know, do the full splits. They can't even go all the way forward and back. His shoulders can't go around 360, even though he does have the ability to put him up over his head, obviously for conversion, and the elbow ratchets are tremendous. Even 30 years later, they work so well. Here's the thing, even with his limitations, the things that were done right here still stand up over the test of time and are still absolutely fantastic. He is so heavy and hefty and full of die-cast metal. It was, still is, an excellent Shockwave, and he stood out and had a presence back then, and he still stands out and has a presence now. For those of you who are like me and wanted to have an update, the Siege version does that very well. If you're a traditionalist, this is definitely the guy to get. If you're into the updates, the Siege one is definitely the one to get, even if that one is overpriced. But going back to those G1 days, man, this guy was magnificent when I was a little kid, and he's still magnificent now. Let me know what you think about Shockwave, and which Shockwave kind of suits your needs the best. The Transformers Prime one, this guy, maybe even Shock Blast from the Unicron trilogy. I think it was Unicron trilogy. Anyway, you know I love to hear your thoughts. For now, though, I'll say thanks for dropping by and giving me some of your very valuable time, and I very much look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit right here inside the videos.